There is a quiet strength in the man who does not speak unnecessarily, not out of fear, but because he understands that some things lose power when they are exposed too early. In a world obsessed with sharing, likes, validation, followers, constant updates, a wise man steps back and asks, what is sacred? What must I protect, not from others, but from my desire to be seen before I am ready? An intelligent man knows that some things must remain private, not hidden out of shame, but guarded with discipline, because your energy is currency, your vision is sacred ground, and your inner world is no place for everyone's eyes to wander. We live in a time where mystery is mistaken for weakness, where silence is misunderstood as emptiness. But let me remind you, stillness is power, privacy is wisdom, and your inner life deserves protection. If you're tired of being drained, if your dreams seem to lose momentum the moment you speak them aloud, if you constantly feel misunderstood, misjudged, or manipulated, this message is for you. Because an intelligent person keeps three things private at any cost. Not out of ego, but out of deep, practiced self-respect. Let's begin. There is something sacred about silence, especially when it surrounds the most powerful thing a man can carry, his vision. When you begin to see something greater for yourself, a future that pulls you out of your current habits, a version of you that no longer tolerates mediocrity, that vision becomes a living seed inside you. It's alive, it's sensitive, and most of all, it's vulnerable. You must understand this. What you carry internally must first develop roots before you ever allow it to grow toward the sun. But many men, especially when they are just starting to grow, fall into a trap. They feel the spark of possibility, and before they even take the first disciplined step, they start to speak it into the world. They tell their friends, they post about it, they romanticize the outcome. They leak their vision before it has been earned. This is how power is lost. Because the moment you open your mouth, you invite opinions, you invite judgment, you invite the energy of others, and not all of them want you to succeed. Some may love you, but still doubt you. Others may envy you silently. Some will root for you. Yes, but many will project their fears onto your path. And when your vision is still young, those projections are dangerous. They confuse you. They distract you. They pollute the clarity you were just beginning to form. So the intelligent man learns keep your long-term vision private until it is anchored deeply within. Not because you're afraid, but because you're wise. Because you understand that the seed of transformation must be hidden in darkness. Just like a plant begins underground, away from noise, away from light, away from premature exposure. Silence, in this sense, is not emptiness. It is protection. The man who speaks only after action, who builds in silence and lets results make the noise, he becomes unstoppable. He doesn't seek applause for the plan. He finds satisfaction in the discipline of becoming. This is the difference between dreaming and deciding. Anyone can talk about who they want to be. Very few walk the path quietly and consistently, without validation, without attention, without broadcasting every step. If you want to truly become unrecognizable, if you want to evolve in such a way that people don't even recognize who you've become, you must start by protecting the process. Let me tell you something honest. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. You don't need permission to shift, and you don't need to announce your goals to prove you're doing something meaningful. The most powerful shifts happen when no one is watching. The world will see the results. But the work, that belongs in the dark, that belongs to you. And this privacy, it gives you power. Because the fewer people who know your next move, the harder it is for anyone to block it, including your ego, which often feeds off attention and recognition. An intelligent man feeds off momentum, not praise. He is focused not on appearing successful, but on becoming undeniable. So, take a moment now. Think of the vision that lives inside you. Maybe it's a body you've never had. Maybe it's a business, a mission, or a way of living that requires your full evolution. Ask yourself, have I shared this too soon? Have I allowed the energy of others to dilute the fire I was trying to build? If the answer is yes, Forgive yourself. Learn and begin again. Close your mouth, open your discipline. Let the work speak. And when your vision is ready, when it has survived your doubts, your fatigue, your failures, then and only then will the world witness what you were building all along. This is the first privacy you must protect, your long-term vision. And once you learn how to protect this sacred space, you'll begin to understand why the second kind of privacy is equally important. The privacy of your heart. Let's walk there now. There is no greater battlefield for the modern man than the space between his heart and his silence. We live in a time where love has become performance, where relationships are flaunted for attention and breakups are turned into content, where every private moment becomes a public story and every sacred bond becomes exposed to a world that cannot understand its depth. But let me remind you, love is not content. It is not a spectacle. It is a living, breathing connection that demands protection, not publicity. An intelligent man knows what is sacred must be shielded, not because he is hiding something, but because he understands its value. Your relationship or your heartbreak, it is not for everyone's consumption. And if you're a man navigating love, loss, confusion, or intimacy right now, you must learn this early. Not every emotion needs an audience. Let me explain why. When you speak too soon about your love life, especially in its fragile beginnings, you invite the minds of others into something that only the hearts involved can truly feel. You start allowing outside voices to influence your internal compass. Suddenly, your feelings become opinions. Your partner becomes someone to defend or explain. Your pain becomes something to manage publicly, not heal privately. This weakens you, because instead of sitting with your discomfort, instead of growing through the tension, instead of learning from the stillness, you begin performing your relationship, or your breakup, or your loneliness. You look for validation where you should be looking for reflection. You seek attention where you should be building awareness. And when the relationship shifts, when it ends, when it struggles, when it transforms, you find yourself not only dealing with the emotional weight of it, but also the weight of how others see you in it. That's too heavy to carry. An intelligent man avoids this. He holds his love life close to his chest. He doesn't broadcast his intimacy. He doesn't over-explain his heartbreak. He doesn't let the world into a garden, still growing its roots. If you're in love, protect it. Let it unfold naturally. Build trust, connection, and depth in silence. Don't expose it to the energy of comparison, gossip, or envy, because not everyone wants to see you in peace. And if you're heartbroken, honor it, but don't perform it. Let your pain mature in solitude. Cry without posting. Grieve without messaging your ex for one last hit of clarity. Process with dignity, because your heart is not a stage. Now, maybe you've been open about your relationship in the past. Maybe you've shared too much. Maybe you felt exposed, misunderstood, or even betrayed, and now you feel ashamed. Let go of that. This is not about guilt. This is about learning, about reclaiming your privacy so you can move with intelligence, not insecurity. Because a man who keeps his love life private does not fear vulnerability. He honors it. He chooses to give his heart only to those who've earned access. Not likes, not followers, not fake support. Those who move like mirrors, not microphones. So ask yourself now, have I protected my heart or have I performed it? Have I built a connection or have I collected attention? And am I truly building something sacred or just looking for something to post? The answers to these questions will guide you. They will return you to the truth. Because the intelligent man never weaponizes his love life. He doesn't speak down on an ex. He doesn't gossip about his partner. He doesn't make others a character in his emotional story. He takes responsibility. He moves with grace. And when love comes again, he will protect it differently. With more maturity, with more reverence, with more silence. This is the second layer of privacy, the privacy of your heart, your connection, your intimacy, your emotional world. And once you learn to guard this with care, you'll begin to see the third form of privacy in a different light, the privacy of your finances, not because money defines you, but because how you handle it reflects who you are becoming. Let's walk there now. We live in a culture where everyone wants to appear rich, but very few are building wealth, and even fewer understand how to protect the most sacred layer of that journey, the energy of their financial life. An intelligent man learns this not from theory, but from pain, from being judged for having too little, from being used to having too much, from realizing that the loudest men in the room are often the ones with the weakest foundations. Your financial situation, whatever it is not a performance. It is a reflection of your discipline, your values, your past decisions, and most importantly, your current direction. But here is what most people will never tell you: money is spiritual. It is energetic. It reveals your internal state more than your external one. So when you speak about it too loosely, when you reveal how much you earn, what you own, or what you lack, you open yourself up to energies that were never meant to be a part of your financial ecosystem, and that weakens you. You invite envy. You invite advice from people who do not live your life. You attract people who want access, not alignment. And you begin to externalize your worth, forgetting that money is a tool, not an identity. Whether you are broke, surviving paycheck to paycheck, or you are rising, building your empire slowly, you owe no one an update on your wallet. You owe yourself quiet discipline. Let me explain. When you keep your financial state private, you give yourself space to grow without pressure. You don't have to justify why you're saving. You don't have to explain why you're saying no to a trip, a dinner, or a gift. You move based on values, not validation. And if you are thriving, if money is flowing into your life, if abundance is knocking on your door, don't flaunt it. Flow with it. Because the intelligent man understands money multiplies where humility is present. The more you show, the more people try to take. From your energy, from your peace, from your pockets. This is not paranoia. This is reality. People change when money enters the room. Some treat you better. Some resent you quietly. Some try to manipulate your kindness. Others try to match your pace, even if it destroys their path. But the man who keeps his finances private, he stays in control. He's not trying to impress. He's trying to build. Because what most don't realize is that money problems, they are rarely about money. They are about identity, about unhealed wounds, about proving worthiness. So if you grew up without much, and you finally have a little more, you might be tempted to show it, to post it, to let the world know you've made it. But hear me. There is nothing intelligent about flaunting what you're still learning how to manage. Wealth isn't how much you make. It's how quiet you can stay while you build. It's how deeply you can stay grounded while others chase noise. It's how you can walk into a room and no one knows you're the one who could buy it. That is power. That is restraint. That is security that cannot be stolen. So what do you do instead? You move in silence. You invest in what matters. You learn from people who are wiser, not louder. You track your patterns. You master your emotional triggers. You never use money to escape yourself, only to elevate yourself. And when people ask, how much do you earn? How do you spend? What do you have? You smile and say nothing, because they're not asking out of love. They're asking out of curiosity, from insecurity, from comparison. Let them guess. Let your peace be louder than your pay stub. Let your future be shaped by inner structure, not outer noise. This is the third form of privacy, your financial ecosystem. Sacred, strategic, silent. And when you master this, you begin to move like a man who cannot be shaken. Not by debt, not by luxury, not by expectation. Because your worth, it was never in your bank account. It was in your ability to manage what no one else sees. Now, from here, we go deeper. Because not everything private is practical. Some things are emotional. Some things are still healing. And that too must be kept safe. Let us walk into the fourth privacy now. The sacredness of your past pain. Every man walks with scars. Some are visible. Most are not. And it is the invisible ones. The emotional fractures, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the regrets. that shape how we show up in this world. But here's what you must know, especially as a man walking the path of transformation. What you are still healing from is not public property. You do not owe the world access to your open wounds. You do not need to explain your triggers to people who haven't earned your trust. And you are under no obligation to make your pain understandable to those who only seek to judge, not to hold. Because healing, true healing, it is a sacred process. It is raw, it is nonlinear, and it is deeply personal. But we live in a time where vulnerability is mistaken for validation, where emotional stories are traded for attention, where trauma becomes performance, and the slow, sacred process of healing becomes diluted in an ocean of oversharing. Let me be clear. There is nothing wrong with sharing your story, but the timing, the intention, and the audience matter more than anything. An intelligent man learns that some emotions must be kept silent, not because he is suppressing them, but because he is still integrating them. When you speak of your pain too soon, you risk turning your healing into a performance. You risk creating an identity around your suffering. And worst of all, you risk inviting interpretations from people who cannot hold your depth. And what happens then? You get feedback you didn't ask for. You get opinions disguised as empathy. You get advice from people who have never walked where you've walked. And suddenly, your sacred inner work becomes clouded by someone else's lens. This is how confusion begins. This is how shame returns. This is how you slow your growth by exposing your soul to energies it was never meant to carry. So what does a wise man do? He builds a temple of silence around his pain. He doesn't lie. He doesn't pretend everything is okay. But he doesn't hand over the map to his heart to anyone who asks either. He chooses carefully. He heals deliberately. And when he does speak, if he speaks, it is not to get attention, but to give insight. There is strength in saying, I am working through something, but I don't need to explain it to be okay. There is power in setting boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to the broken version of me, while I'm still building the healed one. And there is wisdom in knowing not every pain needs to be shared to be respected. Your inner world must be a sacred garden. And healing is like replanting the soil of that garden. You must protect it while it's still soft, still shifting, still uncertain. So be intentional. If you are going through something, whether it's a childhood wound, a breakup that shattered your sense of self, a betrayal you can't make sense of, a period of depression, confusion, or emotional numbness, move through it with honesty, yes, but move through it with honor. Let your inner circle be small. Let your therapist, your journal, and your silent nights become your sanctuary. Let the tears fall without needing an audience. Because there is a version of you on the other side of this pain, who is stronger, clearer, and more grounded. But he will only emerge if you protect the cocoon he's forming in. So don't rush the story. Don't narrate the healing before the lesson is complete. Don't make your trauma your brand. You are not what hurts you. You are who you choose to become despite it. And what becoming? It happens in silence. This is the fourth privacy, the sacredness of your emotional healing. And when you honor it, when you carry it not like a secret, but like a flame that needs guarding, you begin to reclaim the parts of you that were once shattered. You walk taller. You speak more slowly. You begin to see pain as a teacher, not an identity. And now, from here, we move into something more subtle, but just as vital, the privacy of your next move. Because when your actions are still forming, when your decisions are still fragile, they must be protected. Let's continue forward. Every man comes to a moment in life where he feels the pressure to prove himself, to speak on his plans before they've taken shape, to announce his goals so that others believe in him, to declare his next move, thinking that words will somehow make the path more real. But let me tell you a truth that the intelligent man lives by. Your next move is not something to be spoken. It is something to be executed. You see, there is a false confidence in speaking too soon. It creates the illusion of progress. It tricks your brain into believing you've already accomplished something, simply because you've said it out loud. But words without action are like smoke. They may look impressive for a moment, but they disappear without leaving any weight behind. An immature man speaks because he wants reassurance. He wants people to validate the direction he's thinking of taking. He wants to feel seen, not for what he's done, but for what he hopes to do. And the world has no shortage of men who make promises, who talk about starting businesses, getting in shape, writing the book, leaving the job, becoming a better man. Yet months, sometimes years, pass, and those same men are in the same place because they confuse the dopamine of talking with the discipline of doing. Silence is a powerful teacher. It teaches you that your path does not need permission, that you do not need to explain yourself to those who will never understand your hunger. That greatness is forged in the shadows, in quiet mornings, long nights, and unseen effort. When you stop speaking about what you're going to do, you begin to build differently. You conserve your energy. You focus your attention. You sharpen your execution. No distractions. No applause. Just movement. This does not mean you must become cold. It means you must become precise. Not every idea is meant to be shared in its infancy. Not every plan should be exposed while it's still vulnerable. Your vision is a seed, and seeds must be buried in silence before they bloom in public. So many men ruin their momentum by sharing too early. They invite doubt. They invite comparison. They invite unsolicited opinions from people who have never walked the path of discipline themselves. And once that noise gets in, doubt grows where confidence was once forming. Procrastination replaces movement. Excuses replace progress. The intelligent man learns this the hard way, and then he chooses a different way. He stops announcing. He starts aligning. He stops talking about the gym. He gets under the bar. He stops talking about building wealth. He opens the investment account. He stops talking about leaving the job. He updates the resume, makes the call, and takes the risk. He lets his results speak for him. Louder, clearer, more honestly than any promise ever could. And when the world finally sees the change, they ask, when did this happen? But it didn't happen. It was built in silence, in solitude, in sacred privacy. So if you are preparing to make a move, whether that's cutting off distractions, ending a toxic relationship, starting a new chapter in business, or reshaping who you are at your core, don't speak. Move. Don't tell people what you're about to do. Tell them nothing. Show them everything. Let your success be your statement. Let your evolution be your reply. Because no one can sabotage a move they do not see coming. No one can criticize a plan that has already been completed. And no one can stop the man who is already 10 steps ahead. Because he chose to speak only in outcomes, not intentions. This is what separates those who dream from those who become. So hold your next move close. Not from fear, but from power. Let it grow in the dark. Let it take root. And when it is ready, let the results arrive like thunder. Now from this place of discipline and direction, we turn towards something even more powerful, and perhaps the most difficult to master. Your spiritual journey, your relationship with the unseen, your connection with purpose. Let's walk into that final space together. There comes a moment in every man's life when the external world begins to feel hollow. The money, the validation, the pursuits, they no longer satisfy. And something inside begins to whisper. A hunger not of the body, not even on the mind, but of the spirit. It is here that a man begins to walk the unseen path. He starts to pray more. He becomes quiet in moments when others talk. He begins to meditate, to breathe deeper, to feel emotion rise from places he didn't know existed. He begins to seek something more. But there is a danger at the beginning of this journey. It's a subtle one. It's not in practice. It's in the performance. You see, we live in a time where spirituality has become a spectacle, where meditation is a photo, where a quote becomes a caption, where men preach what they have not yet embodied. And this is the truth that most won't tell you. Your spiritual practice is not meant to be seen. It is meant to be lived. It is not something you broadcast. It is something you become. And becoming does not happen in front of an audience. It happens in silence, in surrender. The man who is truly walking with the divine, whether he calls it God, the Tao, the universe, or simply his inner truth, he walks differently. He doesn't need to convince. He doesn't argue about beliefs. He doesn't quote scriptures he hasn't lived. He doesn't wear his faith like a badge. He lets his presence be the proof. Because the spiritual path is not about appearing enlightened. It's about living aligned. It's in how you breathe when you're angry. How do you respond when you're tempted? How do you carry yourself when no one is watching? How you treat the weak when you feel strong. That is spirituality. That is practice. That is power. So keep your prayers private. Let your rituals be yours alone. Don't perform your peace. Protect it. You don't need to post that you meditated this morning. You don't need to share your fast, your journal, your mantra. You don't need to prove your connection to the divine, because the divine already knows. And the more private it becomes, the more powerful it becomes. Because when your faith is hidden in discipline, when your spirit is grounded in practice, when your beliefs are lived in the quiet hours of the morning, when the world is still asleep, you no longer need validation. You walk with conviction. And that is what makes you unshakable. You begin to move with calm in the chaos. You stop overreacting. You speak less but with more clarity. You begin to notice beauty in ordinary things. And you stop chasing, because you've already found home inside yourself. This is what the world cannot understand. That true spiritual power is invisible. It's not in the quote. It's in the man behind the quote. So keep it sacred. Keep it yours. Let your spiritual life be a sanctuary, not a stage. And if people ask if they want to know how you remain calm, how do you stay grounded, how you carry yourself with such presence, don't explain. Live. Let your life answer. Because some things are not meant to be taught, only felt. This is the final layer of privacy that makes a man hold his relationship with the divine. Not posted, not proven, just practiced. And when all 6 of these sacred privacies are guarded, your dreams, your love life, your financial world, your emotional wounds, your next moves, and your spiritual walk, you no longer live for the world, you live from within. And from within, you become unrecognizable. There will come a day when you look back at who you used to be, how open you were with people who didn't deserve your story, how loud you were about plans that were never meant to be spoken, how desperate you were to be seen, heard, understood. And in that moment of reflection, you'll feel something rise in your chest. Not shame, not regret, but a quiet understanding you were becoming the man who no longer needs to explain himself, becoming the man who moves in silence, becoming the man who protects his peace like a warrior guards a sacred temple. You are not weak for being private. You are not cold for setting boundaries. You are not distant for choosing solitude. You are choosing depth over noise. You are choosing real growth over performance. You are choosing to build a life that doesn't need to be posted, because it's already felt. And if no one has told you this recently, you are not lost. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are awakening, piece by piece, silence by silence, step by sacred step. And if this message stirred something inside of you, if it reminded you of the man you are capable of becoming, then honor that feeling, not just with thought, but with action. Like this video, comment what you're reclaiming. Share it with a brother who needs to hear this today. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not for me, but for you. So every time you start to drift, you find your way back. Back to your path, back to your power, back to your peace. You are not alone on this journey. We walk together, silently, powerfully, privately. Until next time, walk with intention, live with discipline, and protect your soul like it matters, because it does.